The day I realized my family was not who they seemed. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. My mother's smile didn't move when I said my real name. It happened at my parents' dining table under the chandelier Celeste polished before every special meal, like shine could keep our lives from tarnishing. I sat with my hands flat on the wood, trying not to tremble. Daniel stared at his plate. Eli's jaw worked like he was chewing a fight. Aunt June had come because I asked, and because she knew I didn't ask unless I was already drowning. I'm not Nora Hart, I said, the calm tone I used on panicking parents. I think my name is Noelle Rains. Celeste tilted her head, warm eyes, perfect lipstick, the same expression she wore at church when someone mentioned scandal. She didn't blink. Honey, you're overtired, she said softly. Don't bring that stress home. I slid the document across the table, a hospital record request, stamped and initialed, with a file number in the corner. It was a birth record, my birth record, and it wasn't the one I'd seen my whole life. Daniel's fork clinked. Eli shot up. What is that? Where did you get that? St. Mercy, I said. They couldn't find Nora Hart in the delivery ledger for that date. Celeste's smile stayed. Her fingers touched the edge of the paper like it was dirty. People make mistakes. They don't miss an entire birth, Aunt June said, blunt as a slammed door. I was 29, a pediatric nurse who believed in charts and timelines. I still drove to my parents' house every Sunday because Celeste said tradition was what kept families together. I believed our family story. Celeste nearly died giving birth to me. Daniel cried in the hallway. Eli promised to teach me how to ride a bike. That story was my origin myth. It was why Celeste could say, after everything I sacrificed, and I'd swallow my anger. It was why I never questioned the framed photo in the hallway of Celeste in a hospital bed, holding a swaddled baby. Last week, that photo started looking staged. Now Celeste's gaze held mine, and I realized the fight wasn't about a name on paper. It was about the set she'd built, and what would happen if I kicked a wall down. Daniel finally whispered, without looking up, Nora, please don't do this here. Then Celeste reached under the tablecloth, and I heard metal scrape wood. If you'd asked me a month ago who my family was, I would have answered like I was reading from a brochure. We were the Harts. Suburban split-level, trimmed hedges, porch swing Celeste never sat on. Daniel fixed things quietly, faucets, cabinets, my car. Eli played tough big brother, so well he didn't notice when it stopped being a joke and started being control. Celeste ran the house like she ran everything, with a smile that dared you to argue. She hosted potlucks, volunteered at church, and kept a mental ledger of who'd said what. People notice, she'd whisper, and it never felt like advice. It felt like a warning. My birthday always came with the same miracle story, how Celeste nearly died giving birth to me, how the doctor said I was stubborn, how Daniel cried in the hallway. The details never changed, and that consistency made it feel true. There was proof on the wall, too, the framed hospital photo in the hallway. Celeste pale but glowing, Daniel's hand on her shoulder, the baby's face turned away. I'd walked past it for 29 years without wondering why you couldn't see the baby's eyes. Aunt June did. She'd smile politely at the story, but her eyes always flicked to that photo, then away. As an adult, I noticed she only visited when Daniel invited her, never when Celeste did. Last Saturday, we had one of those perfect dinners. Celeste made pot roast. Eli brought his girlfriend and acted charming. Daniel poured wine like he was trying to fill empty space. I said I was tired from work, and Celeste said, "That's nice," like I'd read her a weather report. Then she reached across the table and smoothed an invisible wrinkle on my sleeve. "You're 29, she said brightly. "When do we talk about a real future? Something stable." "My future is fine," I said. "I like my apartment. I like my job." Eli snorted. "You like being everyone's backup plan." Daniel murmured, "That's enough." Celeste's nails dug into my arm for half a second, too quick for anyone else to see. "I just want you to have what I had," she whispered. "A proper beginning." That night, I opened my cedar keepsake box for comfort. My baby bracelet was gone, and the box smelled like fresh cedar. I told myself it was nothing. People misplace things. Mothers reorganize. But Celeste didn't reorganize my keepsake box. She treated it like a shrine, and she loved shrines because they made her look righteous. I called her the next morning from my apartment, still in scrubs. Did you move my baby bracelet? I asked. A pause. Less about thinking, more about calculating. What bracelet? Celeste said. The plastic band with my last name. You're imagining things, she replied, voice too bright. Those get lost. I want it back, I said. Come over tonight, she insisted. Well, look. When I arrived, she greeted me with a hug that lingered too long. Daniel hovered behind her. Eli wasn't home. Celeste steered me straight to the framed hospital photo in the hallway. There's your beginning, she said, tapping the glass. Stop digging for problems. For the first time, I looked hard. The baby's face was turned away. The bracelet wasn't visible. Celeste's gown was clean, too clean, like wardrobe in a play. You said St. Mercy, I murmured. I did, she snapped, then softened instantly. Of course I did. That night, while she bustled in the kitchen, I opened the buffet cabinet. In the bottom drawer, behind table linens, sat a manila envelope sealed with clear tape. No label, just a date in black marker. August 14th, 96. Inside were copies, thin, gray, official. A certificate of live birth, with my first name spelled Noel. A last name I didn't recognize. A mother's name that wasn't Celeste's. In the corner, stamped in red, amended. I snapped photos with my phone, then shoved everything back and smoothed the tape like I could erase my fingerprints. At dinner, Celeste chatted about neighbors and charity events like nothing happened. Daniel avoided my eyes. When Eli finally walked in, he ruffled my hair like I was still 12. What's up, Nor? Nothing. I lied, and felt my stomach fold. The next day on my lunch break, I went to St. Mercy's records office. A woman behind glass, nameplate, M. Klein, took my request and typed slowly. Huh, she muttered. That's weird. What's weird? I asked. The clerk whispered. 2 files exist, and one is sealed under court order. I left the records office with my ears ringing, like I'd heard a siren nobody else could. On the ride back, I zoomed in on the photos from Celeste's envelope. The amended certificate listed a mother named Rebecca Rains and a birth location, Lakeview Women's Clinic. Not St. Mercy. A clerk's signature sat at the bottom, dated September 3rd, 96, weeks after my miracle birth. At work, I went through the motions, meds, charts, smiles, but my mind kept snagging on one question. If Celeste didn't give birth to me, why build an entire identity around claiming she did? That night, I called Daniel. Not Celeste. Daniel was always the softer landing. Dad, I said in my apartment stairwell. Records said there are 2 files under my social. One sealed. Silence, then a small, tired breath. Nora, why are you doing this? Because my bracelet is gone and there's an amended birth certificate in your house. I need the truth. He swallowed. Your mother loves you. That's not an answer. I can't do this over the phone, he whispered. Come tomorrow. Tomorrow was Eli's birthday dinner. The table was set like Celeste expected an audience. Eli leaned in as I walked past. Don't be weird tonight, he muttered. Celeste kissed my cheek. Everyone's together. That's what matters. I waited until Daniel stepped into the kitchen, then asked Celeste quietly, Who is Rebecca Rains? Her face didn't flinch. Where did you hear that name? She asked. So you know it, I said. Eli turned. Nora, stop. She's overtired, Celeste laughed. She's spiraling. I saw documents, I said. In your drawer. Eli moved between us. You went through Mom's stuff? Daniel came back in and froze. Celeste slid her hand onto his arm like a leash. Daniel, she said sweetly. Tell her she's being dramatic. Daniel's mouth opened, then closed. Celeste leaned in so only I could hear. If you embarrass us, she whispered, you'll regret it. After dinner, she guided me down the hallway with a hand at my elbow, gentle and firm. Freshen up, she said, pushing me into the guest bathroom. The door clicked shut behind me. Then, outside, I heard the unmistakable sound of a key turning. For a few seconds I just stood there, staring at the doorknob like it might explain itself. Celeste, unlock the door. I called, trying for calm. No answer. Only muffled clinks from the dining room. Plates, laughter, a normal night happening without me. My throat tightened. I wasn't claustrophobic. I'd worked codes in crowded rooms. This wasn't about space. It was about permission. My own mother had decided I didn't get to leave until I behaved. I pulled out my phone. No signal. The guest bathroom had always been a dead zone, a funny family joke. Tonight it felt designed. I knocked harder. Daniel. Eli. Eli's voice came through the door, too close. Stop making a scene. I'm locked in here. You're not locked in. Mom's trying to get you to calm down, he said, like he was explaining a tantrum. You're acting unstable. There it was, the word Celeste used when she wanted to shrink me. Unstable. Dramatic. Oversensitive. The same label she'd slapped on me when I got angry, when I cried, when I asked for privacy. Comfort always came after, but it came with conditions. The hook was control. I backed away from the door and forced myself to think like a nurse in an emergency. The small window above the tub was cracked open. I dragged the hamper under it, pushed the frame, and felt the latch give with a brittle snap. Cold air rushed in. I squeezed through, scraped my arm, and dropped into the dark side yard, landing hard in damp grass. My heart pounded like I'd escaped something criminal, not a family dinner. As I limped toward my car, Aunt June stepped out the back door. She didn't call my name. She just held up her hand. Wait. When I reached her, she spoke in a whisper. You're not crazy, she said. And you're not safe if you keep asking nicely. What do you know? I asked, tears hot and humiliating. My stomach dropped. In the upstairs window, the curtain twitched like an eyelid. June whispered, Celeste didn't give birth to you, and she knows you're close. I drove home with my arm stinging where the window frame had scraped it, and with Aunt June's words echoing louder than the engine. At my apartment, I cleaned the cut, then did what I always did when life got chaotic. I documented. I opened a notes file titled Receipts and pasted the essentials. Amended birth certificate photo. Mother, Rebecca Rains. Birthplace, Lakeview Women's Clinic. Signed, September 3rd, 96. I texted June, what is Lakeview? She replied, a clinic that closed in 2002. Different side of town. Then, do not go back alone. Celeste called 3 times. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was syrupy. Sweetheart, you scared us. Come back so we can talk like adults. Behind her voice, faint but clear, I heard Eli say, she's going to ruin everything. Not ruin us. Everything, like the lie was bigger than the family. The next morning, before my shift, I met June at a diner off the highway. When the waitress left, June slid a small brass key across the table on a plastic tag, marked 12C. Your mother rented a storage unit years ago, June said. Paid cash. Used Daniel's middle name. She swallowed. I saw the key once. I shouldn't have stayed quiet. How did you get it? It fell out of her purse at Thanksgiving, she admitted. She asked if I'd seen it. I lied. My fingers closed around the key. Why give it to me now? Because she locked you in a bathroom, June said flatly. That's not concern. That's containment. On my break, I called the storage facility. Do you have a unit 12C? I asked. The manager hesitated. We don't give out. I have the key, I said. I'm family. Another pause. It's under a Daniel Hartfield. Hartfield. Daniel's middle name. Not our last name. After my shift, I drove straight to the facility with the tag burning my pocket. At the gate, the keypad screen lit up and asked for an access code I didn't have. A security camera above the gate tilted, following my car like an eye. Eli texted, if you're at Silverline Storage, turn around right now. Silverline Storage sat between a tire shop and a payday loan place, the kind of strip that looked built to swallow secrets. I stared at Eli's warning, then called Aunt June. He knows, I whispered. Stay calm, June said. Get in, get proof, get out. I walked into the office and introduced myself as Nora Hart. The manager looked at my ID, then at the key tag in my palm. You're not listed on the lease, he said. I'm Daniel Hartfield's daughter, I said. If there's something illegal here, I'd rather handle it quietly. The word illegal did its job. He sighed, slid me a temporary access form, and printed a gate code on a receipt. Number 4821. Unit 12C smelled like dust and old cardboard. My key turned easily, like it had been waiting. Inside were plastic tubs, a metal file box, and a framed photo leaning face down. I flipped it over. Celeste, young, frizzed hair, wide smile, stood beside another woman who had my eyes. They were both holding a newborn between them. On the back, in faded ink, Becky plus Cece, 1996. Becky. Rebecca. My stomach dropped. The file box held folders labeled in Celeste's neat handwriting. Insurance. Court. Hospital. Keep. In hospital. A Lakeview Women's Clinic discharge sheet had my footprint stamp. Under Mother, Rebecca Raines. Under Guardian, Celeste Hart. Dated August 15, 96. In court, I found guardianship papers filed in 1997 with a case number at the top. Petitioner, Celeste Hart. Respondent, Rebecca Raines. Reason, incapacity. In insurance, a claim letter dated 2004 referenced a house fire on Pine Hollow Road and a payout that made my mouth go dry. $186,000. Beneficiary, Celeste Hart. And in keep, wrapped in tissue like a relic, was my missing baby bracelet. A newspaper clipping was paperclipped to the insurance letter. Local woman presumed dead after fire. Rebecca's photo smiled above the headline, and Celeste had circled the date. It didn't say Hart. It said Raines. Behind me, the roll-up door rattled like someone grabbed it from the outside. I didn't run. I froze, phone in my hand, because nurses learn fast, panic wastes seconds. The roll-up door rattled, a shadow sliding under it. I held my breath. Maintenance. A man called casual. Gate says you're past hours. Relief hit so hard I went lightheaded. I'm finishing up, I said, and the footsteps moved away. Then I photographed everything like my life depended on it, because suddenly, it did. The Lakeview discharge sheet with my footprint. The guardianship petition with its case number. The insurance payout letter, $186,000. Beneficiary, Celeste Hart. The newspaper clipping. Local woman presumed dead after fire. Rebecca's face smiled above the headline. By the time I reached my car, my hands shook so badly I dropped my keys twice. I called June. It's all there, I said. Rebecca Raines is Becky, Celeste's sister. June's voice went quiet. Yes. So I'm not her miracle baby, I whispered. The story was a cover, June said. For shame. For control. For something. I sat in my parked car for a long time, forehead against the steering wheel, replaying childhood memories like security footage. Every moment Celeste had said, "Trust me," now sounded like, "Obey me." I drove home and stared at my own documents like they belonged to a stranger. If Celeste could rewrite my beginning, what else had she rewritten? I left a message with County Vital Records asking how to request an original birth certificate. I didn't mention my mother. I didn't mention fraud. I just asked hypothetically, because saying the truth out loud felt like lighting a match in my mouth. That evening, Eli showed up at my apartment. I watched through the peephole as he stood in the hallway like he owned it. When I didn't open, he spoke loud enough for neighbors to hear. "Nora, stop this," he said. "You don't understand what Mom saved you from." Saved me from what? My stomach rolled as he waited for my reaction. "She's not dead," he whispered, "and she's been asking for you for years." I didn't open the door for Eli. I slid down against it on the inside and whispered, "Go home." "You think this is truth," he said through the wood. "It's just you chasing drama. Tell me why she lied." I snapped. A pause. "Rebecca couldn't keep you," he said finally. "And if people knew the real story, Mom would have been destroyed." Destroyed how? His footsteps backed away. "Call me when you're done," he said. I didn't sleep. I printed my photos, backed them up, and shoved everything into a folder like a case file. At 8 a.m., I went to the County Vital Records office before my shift. The clerk behind glass wore a name tag, Mara. She typed my information and frowned. "You're requesting an original," she said. "Yes," I replied. "I was told there may be an amended certificate." "There is," she said carefully. "And the original is sealed by court order." "By whose request?" She hesitated, then slid me a sticky note with a case number like she was passing contraband. 97, GD, 4412. "Guardianship," she murmured. "You'll need the courthouse to unseal it." She printed a certified copy of the amended certificate, raised seal, and pushed it through the slot. "Good luck," she said quietly. On my lunch break, I drove to Pine Hollow Road, where the 2004 fire supposedly happened. The lot was empty now. Grass, a lonely mailbox, no house. Near the sidewalk, half hidden by weeds, a small stone marker read, "In memory of Rebecca." No last name. No dates. Like even her death had been edited. I knocked on a neighbor's door. An older woman squinted at me and then nodded. "That fire," she said. "Her sister handled everything. That nice church lady. Celeste. She came around after." The woman added, voice lowering. "Told us not to talk. Said the baby was safe and we should respect privacy." Baby. Me. By the time I got back to my car, My choice felt like a bruise. Stay quiet and keep the family intact, or blow it up and find the truth. I couldn't keep asking in the dark. I needed a controlled confrontation, with receipts and a witness. I texted Aunt June, "Courthouse tomorrow. I want the case unsealed." June replied, "I'll be there. Bring everything." An unknown number texted, "Stop digging, Noel, or you'll lose your job." I read the threat 3 times, like the words might change if I stared long enough. Only 2 people had called me Noel, the paper in Celeste's envelope, and Eli through my door. Whoever texted me knew what I'd found, and they knew where to hit me. My license. My job. The one thing that made me independent of Celeste. I tried to act normal at work, but every phone buzz made my pulse jump. Halfway through my shift, the charge nurse said, "Nora, you have a visitor." I walked to the lobby and froze. Celeste stood by the vending machines in a cream coat, hair perfect, holding a paper bag like she'd come bearing comfort. She looked like every supportive mom in a hospital commercial. "There you are," she said brightly, stepping in for a hug. I kept my arms stiff. "What are you doing here?" "I brought you soup," she said, smile glued on. "You've been stressed." "Why is my original birth certificate sealed?" I asked, voice low. Her eyes scanned the lobby for listeners. Then she leaned in. "Because some truths poison families," she whispered. "I'm not even Nora," I said. For a fraction of a second, her warmth dropped, and I saw the anger underneath. Then it snapped back into place. "Do you want to lose everything you've built?" she asked softly. "You texted me," I said. She didn't deny it. She smoothed my sleeve like I was wrinkled fabric. "Do you know what happens to nurses with mental health concerns attached to their file?" she murmured. "Administrators decide you're a liability." My mouth went dry. "You would do that?" "I would do anything to keep this family intact," she said, still smiling. "Anything." A family walked past, and Celeste's voice jumped into cheerful. "Honey, call me later," she chirped, waving like she'd dropped off cookies. As she turned to leave, her fingers brushed my badge, right over my last name. "Heart," she murmured. "Don't make me change what it says." I went back upstairs shaking. In the supply closet, I pressed my forehead to the wall and tried to breathe. When I checked my phone again, I had a missed call from Human Resources. Daniel's voicemail said, "Your mother's about to do something you can't undo." The next morning, I met Aunt June outside the county courthouse with a folder so thick it wouldn't close. June wore the expression she reserved for funerals. "You ready?" she asked. "No," I said, "but I'm going." I'd texted Eli, "Courthouse. 9 a.m. If you care, come." He replied, "Fine." He arrived in a pressed jacket, jaw tight, eyes darting like he expected cameras. Celeste's obsession with appearances had seeped into him. Inside, we stood at a window labeled guardianship and sealed records. I slid the case number Mara gave me under the glass. "I need to request unsealing for case 97, GD 4412, I said. The clerk checked my ID. "Relationship?" "I'm the subject," I said. "I have an amended birth certificate and evidence of fraud." That word changed her posture. She pushed a packet through the slot. "Fill this out. You'll need a hearing." Eli leaned close. "This is insane," he whispered. "Mom did what she had to." June tapped my folder. "She got an insurance payout," June said. "That wasn't rescue." Eli's face tightened. "You don't know what Rebecca was like," he muttered. "You don't know what she did." "Then tell me," I said. He opened his mouth, and his phone buzzed. Color drained from his face. He turned the screen away, but I caught the sender, "Mom." He stepped back, answering low. "I'm here," he said. "Yes." June's eyes narrowed. "She's coming," June said. We finished the forms. The clerk stamped them and slid me a hearing date 2 weeks out. She leaned toward the microphone. "Bring proof," she said quietly. "And be careful." As we turned to leave, Eli grabbed my elbow. "If you do this," he hissed, "you'll make her desperate." "She already is," I said. Through the glass doors, Celeste stepped into the lobby like she owned the building. A deputy glanced over, then looked away when she smiled at him. Celeste stopped in front of me, holding the bracelet like a threat. Celeste never yelled in public. She didn't need to. She held the baby bracelet between 2 fingers. "Looking for this?" she asked sweetly. "Why did you take it?" I said. "To stop you from spiraling," she replied, eyes flicking to the clerk windows. "I knew you'd do something reckless." "You locked me in a bathroom," I said. "That was a boundary," she said, smile sharpening. "Something you've always needed." I pulled out my phone and opened the photos from Unit 12C. Lakeview discharge sheet. Guardianship petition. Insurance payout, I said. And a clipping about Rebecca being presumed dead. Celeste's eyes went flat. You broke into my storage, she said louder, and a few people looked over. I used your key, I said. June cut in. Tell her the truth, Celeste. Here. Celeste leaned in and said the sentence she'd kept caged for 29 years. Your name was Noel, she murmured. Rebecca named you. Rebecca also almost killed you. Eli flinched. Mom. Celeste lifted a finger and he went quiet. She wasn't stable, Celeste continued, voice soft and clinical. She disappeared. She brought men around. She left you alone, Daniel, and I found you sick and screaming. My stomach rolled because some of it sounded like it could be true. Then why the insurance? I asked. Why declare her dead? Celeste's smile cracked. Because she wouldn't stop, she hissed. She kept coming back, threatening to take you. She wanted money. She wanted to ruin me. Ruin you, June repeated. Not ruin her daughter. Celeste straightened, smoothing her face back into place. Rebecca is alive, she said. She's in a facility. No contact allowed. Eli swallowed. That part is true, he whispered. June stepped forward and slapped a folded paper into Celeste's hand. Deposit dated December 3rd, 04, she said. $186,000. You spent it on the house and Eli's tuition. Celeste stared at the number, and her mask slipped all the way off. If you take this to a judge, she whispered, I will ensure they think you're unstable. Human Resources called me back before I even reached my car. Hi, Nora, a woman said with rehearsed softness. We've received a concern about your well-being. My grip tightened. From who? I can't disclose that, she said. But we'd like you to come in today. Celeste's threat hadn't been theater. It had been logistics. Aunt June drove me to the hospital. Answer what's asked, she warned. Nothing extra. HR put me in a small conference room with the usual box of tissues. The manager asked if I was safe, if I was sleeping, if I'd ever had episodes. I answered like I was charting, concise, factual. Then she slid a paper across the table. Administrative leave pending evaluation. Not fired. Not yet. But removed from the unit where I'd built my life on competence. My mother did this, I said. The manager's face stayed neutral. We're here to ensure patient safety, she replied. Patient safety. The phrase tasted like betrayal. I went home and sat on my couch, still in scrubs, staring at the certified amended birth certificate like it was a bruise. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Rage and grief kept swapping places in my body. Daniel called that night. I almost didn't answer. When I did, his voice sounded sanded down. I'm sorry, he whispered. I should have stopped her years ago. Why didn't you? I asked. A long silence. Because it worked, he said. Because you were happy. Because Celeste said if I interfered, she'd take you and leave. And Rebecca? I forced out. Where is she? Daniel exhaled, shaky. Riverside Behavioral Center, he said. That's where she's been. A facility. A real place. A real person. Does she know I exist? I asked. She never stopped knowing, he said, voice breaking. Celeste just kept the door closed. After I hung up, I searched Riverside and found a public directory with a main number and visiting hours. My finger hovered over call. Then a courthouse e-notification hit my inbox confirming my hearing request. Under it was another alert. Motion to deny unsealing filed by Celeste Hart. Celeste's motion forced my hand. If she could block records, she could block my whole life. Aunt June helped me talk to a lawyer who explained my options in plain language. Submit evidence of financial benefit. Request the sealed file be reviewed privately by a judge and document every threat. He also told me something I didn't want to hear. Families like this don't stop controlling you. You outgrow them. I still had to handle my job. The hospital required an evaluation, and the irony wasn't lost on me. After years of caring for kids, I had to prove I wasn't a danger because my mother said I was unstable. I went, answered honestly, and left with a letter that gave me footing. No impairment noted. Fit for duty. In therapy. Yes, I went. I learned a sentence that felt like a key. Control can look like love when you're raised inside it. I stopped answering Celeste. After her third voicemail in one night, switching from tears to fury, I blocked her number. I changed my locks. I told my building manager not to buzz anyone in for me. I set boundaries with Daniel, too. I'll talk to you, I told him, but I won't listen to excuses for her. He accepted it with the tired relief of someone who'd been waiting to put down a heavy bag. Eli didn't call. That hurt more than I expected. I kept replaying the way he'd stood between me and Celeste like she was fragile glass, and I was the hammer. 2 weeks later, June and I returned to the courthouse and filed my response to Celeste's motion, attaching my receipts. The insurance letter, the deposit date, the guardianship case number, the amended certificate. Celeste didn't show up in person. She sent paperwork. That was her style, control from a distance. When I walked out, my supervisor emailed. I'd been cleared to return to work. I cried in the parking lot, not because I was happy, but because I'd survived something designed to break me. That evening, I sat at my kitchen table with the Riverside number on a sticky note. Aunt June watched me from the couch. "Whatever you decide," she said gently, "make it your decision, not Celeste's." I took a breath and finally dialed Riverside. The recorded voice asked for the patient's name, and my mouth went dry. For years, I thought family was a photograph. Whoever stood in the frame with you, smiling, became the truth. Now I knew family could be a stage set, built carefully and maintained aggressively. Celeste hadn't just lied about my birth. She'd trained everyone around her to protect the lie. Daniel with silence. Eli with loyalty disguised as protection. Me with obedience dressed up as gratitude. The strangest grief wasn't losing the miracle story. It was realizing how many of my memories had been managed. How often my feelings were redirected, minimized, corrected. You're tired. You're sensitive. You're overthinking. Those weren't comfort. They were leashes. The receipts were what saved me. Dates. Case numbers. Deposits. Stamps. Not because paper is sacred, but because paper doesn't gaslight you. When you're dealing with a family that edits reality, you need something they can't rewrite. The courthouse hearing was still pending when I went back to work. My hands shook sometimes when a monitor beeped, not from incompetence, but from a nervous system trained to expect punishment. I kept therapy appointments. I built small rituals that belonged only to me. Coffee at my own table, a walk after shift, Sunday dinner with Aunt June instead of under Celeste's chandelier. Daniel called less, but when he did, he sounded lighter, like he'd finally admitted the truth to himself. Eli remained a blank space. I grieved him quietly, because grief doesn't require permission. If this feels familiar, here's my practical takeaway. Document what you can, tell one safe person, and don't confront without a plan. People who live on control don't give it up politely. And if someone says the truth will destroy the family, ask what kind of family needs lies to survive.